for being here with us again on the podcast. Good morning, everybody. I hope that you guys are doing fantastic. It is a Tuesday. Yes, guys, it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, and the caption is Take Back Tuesday. Take Back Tuesday. And right now, you are in tuned to the XY Spark podcast, the podcast for men, where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health because we know that mental health is not a myth. And so we want to continue to have these conversations with you as a way of seeking to create a safe space where more men are comfortable to come out of the woodwork and talk about their mental health. And so this morning, we're going to be talking about mental muscle versus physical muscle. Mental muscle versus physical muscle. And this topic, guys, I am going to encourage you to type something in the chat. I'm going to encourage you to say where you are listening to this recording from. If you're joining us live on TikTok, thank you for being here. Shout out to you. If you're live on YouTube, thank you for being a part of the conversation on our YouTube channel. And if you're joining us live on the podcast at xyspark.podbean.com, thank you for being here. We value your presence and appreciate you every single morning. We hope that so far your week has gone fantastic. If not, I hope that it will get better. So here we are again. We're sitting in Tuesday. And let us dive right into our conversation. And we also want to remind you guys that on the XY Spark podcast, we do offer live life coaching in the podcast. So if you're listening to the podcast and this topic is resonating with you, and you have something that's burning that you like to say, a question that you like to ask, or even a comment, please type it in the chat and let us keep the conversation rich and empowering as we seek to create a space, a safe space where men are comfortable to open the door and come on in and let's chat. Guys, from time to time, I show up. From time to time, yes, guys, I show up at the gym, because that's a part of our responsibility as men to pay attention to our physical well being. And the piece that popped out at me each time I go to the gym is just this huge tribe of men and women too are there, but I'm focusing more on how the men show up. And when I look around me in the gym, I notice that there's this huge tribe of men, a huge flock of men who are in the gym working really hard because the way that they look on the outside, the physical strength, men spend hours working on their legs, working on their arms, working to get their abs, to look chiseled. Men spend hours just working and going to the gym daily, some of those men, to work hard to maintain how they look. So every man wants to make, or I should say most men, I shouldn't say every man because there are some men who don't care much about going to the gym. So let me make a correction here, right? Right? But the huge drive that I see when I look around me in the gym, when I just, use my eye to peruse around the gym, there's that intensity that I notice in the men. They are locked in. Their brains are totally saturated and captured. They're in their zone. They may have their little earpods in. Some may have headphones on, but they are in the zone. spending hours a day, some of these men hours a week, working really hard and being intentional with making physical or creating physical muscle. They want to increase their endurance. Some of those guys, they come to gym with some of their partners, and or they have a personal trainer, and the personal trainer and them, they are locked in. He is following everything that he's been told to do by his personal trainer to the T. He's not going to the left or to the right. He's focused because it's important for him to be in shape, to look good, right? It's important for him to create that physical appearance that is like, aha, wow. And out of curiosity, it popped out at me, and I said to myself, I said this to myself, I said, man, how powerful would it be if we have that same intensity and intentionality from our men to work on their mental muscle? How valuable would it be for our men to say, hey, let me make working on my mental muscle, my mental strength, my mental health, let me make it a priority as much as I make in my physical health a priority. And that is where, as men, we tend to miss the mark. Why? Because nobody is seeing what's going on the inside, but everybody can see what's happening on the outside. So we focus a lot on the externals. We focus a lot on what we wear and how we look and how fit we are as men physically, but mentally, this is where we're missing the mark as men. This is where we are falling short because we're not paying attention to our mental health. We're not being intentional about our mental health. We leave our mental health on the back burner. Attention to our mental health is left on the back burner. And my challenge to all of my listeners, all the men who are tuned in to this podcast, is I need you to challenge yourself to start making your mental health a priority. If you're going to the gym 5 days a week or 3 days a week, if you're not going any at all, I would recommend that even if you can't afford to go to a gym, I'd recommend that you start getting some physical activity in there a priority. That's what I would say if you're not doing it at all. But if you're that guy who you're going into the gym 5, 7 days a week, or even 4 days a week, I want to challenge you to start prioritizing paying attention to your mental health at least 1 day out of 7 per week. That's how you build mental muscle. That's how you create a mindset that is going to give you the edge as you seek to navigate your way through the different boulders that life is going to toss your way. Having the right mental muscle is what is going to give us the edge as men, and what's going to teach us how to deal with conflict, to deal with unpredictable life challenges, to deal with economic pressures, to deal with the stress of experiencing a job loss or layoff, to deal with coming out of a relationship that was long term where you feel betrayed, you feel used, you feel as if, hey, what just happened? You're confused. Creating the right mental muscle is what is going to give you the edge, is what's going to help you to become more grounded and more focused. So, here is something to think about, guys. I want you to take some time here to think about this. Creating physical muscle is important, but it should not be more important than nurturing mental muscle. It is in nurturing our mental muscle that we'll be able to manage things like anxiety. So if you're a man and you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, it may be because you have not been paying attention to nurturing your mental muscle. If you're a man and you're really, really struggling with depression of any kind, whether it is mild or severe depression, it could be because you have not been paying attention to work on your mental muscle, right? And working on that mental muscle is going to give you the edge. It's going to help you to become more grounded. It's going to help you to become more in tuned with your thoughts. And as you're in tune with your thoughts, it helps you to create new perspectives. It helps you to become more grounded. It helps to become more empowered. So, men, don't get me wrong. I'm not hitting those guys who spend hours in the gym and go to the gym every day. I'm saying if you are that guy who you're spending hours going to the gym, I want you to start at least spending 15 or 20 minutes to work on improving your mental muscle. What does that mean? It means that, guys, you've got to spend some more time doing some reflection. Do some personal reflection. Make the time for it. Don't tell me you don't have time. If you can go to the gym 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, you can make some time to just sit in quietude and do some reflection. Ask yourself challenging questions. Ask yourself personal questions about things that you need to do differently. Look at the path that your life is on. Look on the way you're functioning in your relationship. Look on the way that you're functioning in your personal and professional life. Look at how you're making decisions. Look at if you are procrastinating a lot on important things. Look at whether or not you're in the home but you're not present. So seek to practice more presence in your daily functioning. Work on building and sharpening your mental muscle. It is when you learn to sharpen your mental muscle that you'll be less anxious, you'll be less depressed, and you'll be more optimistic about the future instead of being a pessimist, instead of isolating. Because here's something. Here's an irony, guys. Going to the gym 7 days a week is a good thing, but it also can become a unhealthy thing. And what do I mean is, if you're using the gym as an escape from addressing the issues that's going on, it's almost as if it's counterproductive, because going to the gym is a good thing when it is for the right reason. But if we're using the gym as an escape from addressing the real issues, then that becomes a problem. So we want to really seek to balance and work on how do we build and balance what I call the mental muscle with the physical muscle. Because as we look great on the outside, we need to remember, men, that what's equally important is looking great on the inside, which means training your mindset, paying attention to your mindset, prioritizing the things that need to help you to have a healthier mindset, building a solid and effective mental muscle means separating ourselves from drowning our sorrows in substances, right? So, if you want to create a good mental muscle, we have to be mindful of substance use and how much substance we're taking in. We have to be mindful of alcohol use and how much of that we're taking in. If, as men, we want to create good mental muscle, we have to be aware of how much control we have over our use of the internet. For example, if we're spending hours gaming, how is that creating good mental muscle? If we're spending hours, looking at things like pornography, how is that helping to create good mental muscle? And guys, I know I'm talking about stuff here that maybe you prefer to not hear me speak about, but this is what we do here on the XY Spark podcast. We name it. We talk about some of the things that, as a coach, as a psychotherapist, as a man who has been in this space for over a decade and a half, I've heard several stories, and I'm saying, guys, it's time for us to start focusing more and paying more attention on building up the mental muscle. The physical muscle is important, but the mental muscle is equally important. And the challenge is that you have got to choose and prioritize this. So, hey, go on, work out, do your thing, but I also want you to work in. Right? Did you catch it? Work out, build muscle, be physically attractive, but I also want you to do some work in. Work on your mindset, work on changing your mentality, work on changing your behavior, work on being comfortable with who you are on the inside. Don't use the gym as an escape from addressing issues, but use the gym as a space where you are working on balancing the physical muscle with the mental muscle. Guys, this is your boy, your men's life coach, Rolando. You have just listened to the XY Spark podcast, the podcast for men, where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health. We are here live weekday mornings at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We invite you to join us. We invite you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our podcast at xyspark.podbean.com, and also on TikTok. Please put a comment there how this podcast has helped to empower you to go to the next level. And so I leave you with a quote for the day. The mind is like a garden of herbs and weeds. The weeds are the negativity, self doubt, and hopelessness. The herbs are optimism, hope, and contentment. The ones we nurture the most determines our path and our mindset. Guys, thank you for joining us today. And as usual, we continue to remind you that at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you, and we will see you again tomorrow morning for another episode. Until then, have a fantastic day.